Okay, well, welcome to the Juice, Nutrition for Your Practice. We're going to talk about private practice today, and we are super, super duper thrilled to have Paul Silovsky co-hosting with me as usual. Paul Silovsky is an amazing owner, CEO, and just all around great guy to be lucky enough to know, because he is like most of the people that I've been lucky enough to have, people who want to help other people, and it's just great. And that's what we live to do, is to help you help more patients, help yourselves, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So a couple of housekeeping things, and if you were on Pizza Palooza, I'm sorry if I'm going to repeat myself, but we do have some upcoming events. We do have the Pizza Palooza conference in Charlotte, North Carolina, October 6th, 7th, and 8th. This is fantabulous. It is going to be awesome. We have world-class speakers. Diane Crecelius is presenting as usual. Paul will be there, and he'll be answering questions and helping people out with like where they should go and what they should do and some challenges they might be really facing. It is a pediatric event, but guys, the only thing that makes it pediatric is literally the branding. Regina, you can speak to that, correct? Regina serves adult public, and she comes to our events and she's like, yeah, I mean, other than that, there's really nothing there. We're doing a creating time with Patrick Valton. Nothing to do with, I mean, it could be creating time, how to be a better housekeeper. It could be creating time, how to run a better restaurant, how to be a better server. It's literally, it's insane. So we have that. That was all shared in the first meeting. So we have all of that. Carrie, just put the links up just in case people don't have it. Another really quick thing I wanted to tell you guys about is that, number one, what Paul's going to talk about today, most of this he also got from Survival Strategies Training and Consulting. And you might see a pattern that our people stick around for a really long time. Like Paul's been with us well over 2 decades. So, and by the way, Survival Strategies, our sponsors, actually has their original clients. They're like family. They absolutely, they came here from Greece. I don't know if any of you people in the adult sector know Dimi Kostopoulos. But Dr. Dimi is an MD, PhD, DPT, LMNOP. He's a lot of alphabet letters after his name. Way more than I'll ever dream of having, because I have 0 fancy letters, like not like you guys. So they are their original clients, and they still get custom programs. Paul has gotten custom programs from us. And so he's here with some more nuggets. And like we said in the last webinar, don't be a nuggeteer. If you think there's something for you in this, in 50 minutes, I am telling you, it is a major life-altering, practice-altering, community-altering extravaganza when you do a program that is 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year long. By the way, designed to alleviate stress. It's not like going for your PhD or your doctorate and it's not over. The stress is actually added. And then when you do your dissertation, the pressure's off. It's not like that. The pressure comes off each week you meet with your consultants. Actually pretty genius. All right, so I think that's it for the announcements right now. I'm going to branch it over to Paul. He's got a lot to say. This finance topics, boy, are you guys hungry for these. So we're going to try to get you more hatted up on your finances. But the first thing are your numbers. And in those numbers is looking at the FAT, the free financial assessment tool. It's done with a live person. It's not a link we send you. Very informative. And then if you like that, you move on to the practice analysis, which is a very in-depth 3-week study into your practice. Bob does the heavy lifting. You give him some numbers and you meet with him, and it is really super tremendous. It is a really, it's like, there's no way you would ever give a treatment plan to your patients without an eval. We don't even discuss a treatment plan and if it's right for you or not till we start to see that. And then we use that data to give you the return on investment so you can see where it is. And so when you see our pretty graphs, FYI, those are real graphs. Each one is a new graph. It's not a computer generated icon. It is a real graph of a real person. They were here, now they're here. A lot of them look like skyscrapers or beautiful mountaintops because they go from here to there. So with all of that said, let's bring on Paul. Paul, what have you got for us today in this very hard to confront sometimes topic called finances?
You're muted, Paul.
Thank you. So yeah, for sure, a hot topic. And you're right, Nancy. There's no way I can, cover a lot of ground in what's now 48 minutes. But I will tell you, it's a highly misunderstood subject. I've found the area of finance or financial controls, I guess I should say. I'm going to cover one main part of it, and that's really more the income and profit side of it. And this is just as much of a mindset talk as it is getting into some mechanical aspects. There is no possible way I can get into budgeting and financial planning from the standpoint of setting a production budget. But the thing that's easy to do is figure out how much you want to make or how much you should be making. And so I want to give you a basis for looking at that. I will definitely give you some examples. I'm going to talk about some areas. I'm actually going to repeat some things I might have talked about in previous ones. Nancy knows this. I didn't wait till the last minute on this when I knew what I wanted to cover fundamentally, but I did throw this PowerPoint together last night. Nancy reached out to me. She goes, "Are you ready?" I said, "Well, I will be." So, to be totally transparent, but I am giving you things that I do every day, every week, every month, every quarter. So it's super easy to write some of these things down. These are actual things that I look at, and these are things I take very personally, seriously. It's a very guttural thing. I've been very, very blessed, even prior to working with Survival Strategies. We were profitable 6 months in, saying we'll be 30 in February. So I was cash flowing 6 months after I started the practice, and we have never not cash flowed month over month. And I've never, I don't know. I just, it's been something that's been, when I say it's guttural, it is something I demand of myself, and then pass that down to my group. But I take it very personally what we're talking about today. And I'll go over this on what I take. I'll give you more specific. That's a very general statement, by the way, but it is actually the fact number one that I'll dig in a little bit later in more detail. So I will show you a couple of tools that I use at the end, and things I hold myself accountable for and measure, because I think mostly here I'm probably talking to owners. I don't know. I might have some directors and managers on too, which is totally fine, because I share all this. I share a lot of this data with my staff. As far as for sure what the expectations are and the trends and the numbers and whatnot. But anyway, so here we go. I'm going to pull up a PowerPoint because it just keeps me on task, because I could totally just talk to you about this. So when I say I talk on finance, I would love to just put everybody on the screen and say, let's go. But we will have time at the end, I'm hoping, to cover some of this, because I don't have a ton of slides. So I'm able to share, I'm assuming. Okay, good. And slideshow from the beginning. Here we go. Okay, so you guys already know what this is about, a talk on finance. Let me just jump right into the first thing. So I already gave away what the answer to this question is, but who or what drives your profits, your value, and or your financial scene? Now, I'm mainly going to be looking at the profitability, the income potential of your organization. I do it with mine all the time. The value, you can put whatever you want on that, beyond even finance. Obviously, what we all do is very valuable to the publics we service, but we should be obviously, better compensated for that. But when you look at your value, your profits, and then the value of your company, what is the valuation? You have to take a personal look at your financial scene. So fact number one, the demand for income, no other single factor will generate more potential income for your company than anything else that you do. So you have to, demand that from the top down. Now, I want to share with you, while demand is a verb, okay, it used here in the verb sense, demand for income. You know, it's funny when I looked at the derivation of it, Nancy, I'd be honest with you, I didn't even look this up until last night. I was like, what the hell, what's the derivation of the word demand? Check this out, right? I thought this was so cool. And I don't know why this thing's flipping out of the screen here, but it means to entrust. Okay, so while there is that, requirement, it needs to be a requirement for you, and it needs to be a requirement from you to your staff. It's also an entrustment. You're entrusting that, others will work with you to get this done, but you have to trust yourself too. It means to entrust, to demand. So yeah, you're making a request or requirement or decision or a postulate. You're demanding to demand that this occurs. But this has to be an every day, every week thing. It may present itself a little bit more behind the scenes, because you're not going to run into any division of your company and just start talking about profits and money, right? But it has to be there for your organization to continue, for sure. So that's fact number one. And I'm just asking the question, you guys, if you're already working on a financial module with one of the consultants, or have worked with somebody. I know I still, I did finance planning, the financial planning program. I don't know what's called now. We didn't have a free fat financial assessment tool back then, but I realized when that got posted on the screen, that's pretty phenomenal if that's free. I would do that every year if I were you, by the way. I'd sit down with somebody and analyze. I did it every year. I kid you not, I did it every year with Survival Strategy. I did an analysis of my practice every stinking year, no matter what. And now I work with other financial consultants as well, just as a business owner, as a private practice business owner, folks that understand our space very well, along with still consult outside sources and Survival Strat, still stay in communication with Craig Ferrer, the CEO, and we do. We talk as owners together, but if we need to take a dive into my practice, we could do that. But I look at these things all the time that I'm going to go over here on this list. But do your earnings, your profits, by month? I know when it gets down to the last week of the month, I'm looking at that P&L, and I'm diving into exactly where we're at, and I'm pressing through that last week of the month with Janet, my VP of admin, or Bert, my production, my VP of operations, my superpower clinic director, if you will. But we're pressing on these things, all the way to the last day of the month, every month. And we have our monthly strat plan meeting today. I start at 1 o'clock today Central, and we'll dive in with those guys, and we'll do an analysis of August and where we're at quarter to date and year to date. And these guys are dialed into that and pressing for improving that all the time. But you need to know where you're at all times on your profitability. For sure, your expenses by no less than by week. I mean, we definitely evaluate our expenditures as a total every week against our income, every week, and then your cash flows, right? Your positive or negative cash flow week over week. Now, when I say we've always been profitable, no, we don't. We do have some weeks sometimes where our bills paid or our outgo was greater than the amount of money we collected that week. But I'm just saying, month over month, we don't lose money. We're not going to, and I don't plan on ever doing that. But it is because it is a very high expectation. But you need to know you're over and under every week, and then obviously your greatest growth opportunities and or where you lost income, so you can fix it. This is where your consultants come in really handy. I know this has been covered in previous seminars or webinars, not just by me. If you do get into a financial planning or a management program, you will find out very quickly that your greatest area of loss is the money that you are not making right now with existing resources. You are losing more money, and present company included, right? My upside, and I'll show you a calculator at the end that I use, and I look at it every month. I take our year to date and quarterly averages and drop them into this little calculator. I'm going to show you an old version of it, but I drop my numbers in and I show my guys what we're losing. I'll show them what our income potential is, and then we plan around what opportunities or what what we're not doing as well as we should be doing. We certainly pat ourselves on the back or the ass or wherever we need to be patted on to keep going, to keep moving, right? And we definitely validate what we do right first, 100%. It's part of our culture is to validate our rightnesses and the importance of our people and for sure my executives, because I have to pick them up more often. They probably have to pick up their juniors to keep them going, because we definitely push and we press, but we build on our rightnesses, but then we dive into where our opportunities are and where our greatest income potential is. Happy to talk about these things more on the question and answer. And as as Nancy always says, I'm willing to talk to any of you guys. You get a hold of me, and I'll talk to you. Outside the webinar, I'll reach out and we'll communicate. But you definitely have to build that strategic, financial plan for prosperity, for your prosperity, right? And that doesn't always mean, for me, prosperity doesn't mean always money in a bank account. It's whatever drives you, whatever makes you free, whatever floats your boat, or whatever gets you excited to get up every day. So prosperity, means you're creating a flow or some freedom. So you have to build that off of a well-designed financial plan. Fact number 2, most owners I find, and I'd be interested on I could do an informal survey here. You don't have to answer in the chat, but it would be interesting if you did. It'd be interesting to know the guys that do, who look at or staticize their own weekly finances. And what I mean by that is because you and your family or your spouse or whatever is the senior entity. It is the reason why your practice should make money, whatever those personal goals or purposes are. I know for Roxanne and I, we staticize these things I'm going to show you weekly. Okay, we staticize our income coming from the business and other sources every week. Every Saturday morning, we end our week on Friday. Personally, we end our business week on Thursday, so we can do our executive planning on every Friday. We end at the end of having to work on Thursday, but Rox and I, we report our combined income for the week that comes from Rebound and other sources, our bills paid, our bills owing, and then what kind of assets or cash we have on hand. Very simple thing to do. And then monthly we total our assets. And I'm responsible for like she does all the bill pay and handling all the logistics and finances. I'm the income guy, but I'm responsible for the assets of our life going up, right? And I record that every month. And that's one of my main monthly statistics. I'm responsible for the income and the assets. She controls the cash, the bills owing, the bills paid, and all that. She's the logistics person. But I'm telling you that we work together as a team. While she worked in the practice for the first 16 years, of course, she knows that we get a financial report from our financial controls officer every week, and she trained that person. We get a report as owners, and we plan off of that what we're going to do for the company and for Paul and Rox Inc. I actually have it in my statistical management system as expansion strategies, which is an old company I had, but that's what I do. I'm an expansion guy. If I'm not expanding, I'm not happy. That's it. No negotiations. My evaluation of myself as a CEO or from my juniors to me, if I go over, if we're not expanding, then it's a flunk on me. It's bad on me. So if we're not doing well, if I don't confront this first, the totality of my owner finances in my personal life, we're not going to be able to. It's like so the company, needs to be able to service whatever that goal or purpose is. If it's expanding the company, great. Obviously, we contribute to our community as well. We're definitely into philanthropic gifting, but the company needs to be able to service what Rox and I are working for, our prosperity goals, our financial needs. So if I'm not in tune with where that's at, I know you guys may not have been expecting this, but this is super, super important that company that you own needs to feed the ownership and feed whatever those senior goals and purposes are, right? But I find that a lot of folks aren't necessarily looking at this every week and really confronting how well they're doing, what that trend looks like. How well are you performing? How well is the company performing for you and your spouse or your family or whatever? Whatever the scene is. If you're single, that's fine too. It's like it's feeding some greater source. And you need to be able to look at your financial stability and or indicators or trends in these areas. This is what you guys talk to your consultants about. You talk to your peers about it, right? And now I'm talking about if someone was looking at your company. If I was looking at your company, I would want to come in and look at the strength and stability of your company, the average, the growth pattern of how much service you're delivering, whether that's you're looking at that in visits or billable hours or charges or whatever it is you're looking at, right? I know what I look at. I convert my visits to a collectible value every week. So I'm looking at that growth pattern. If I'm not growing the service delivery, and if I'm not growing the new visit volume and or the value of a new patient, it's okay if it's not okay with me necessarily personally, but it can be okay for someone looking at your company. If you can increase the collectible value of new patients and maybe not see as many new patients in let's say, this year as compared to last year, but if the value of your new patients went up, you delivered more service, that would be okay, right? But I always like to service more people. I'm going to look at trying to service more people in the community. And obviously the collections per visit has been very important for us. I'm going to show you on a little evaluation tool, what we leaned into that made a huge difference from 2021 to 2022. And now 2023, it's even getting better. But your collection per visit and or your, the collectible value of an episode of care, you're looking at percent growth here. You want to look at growth in your profitability. And then for some reason, this thing's just progressing on its own on time. I think maybe Nancy planted something in here to keep me moving along so I don't talk too much. No, I know she didn't, but I'm just kidding. It's like that or Roxanne, because she thinks I talk too much sometimes. So she might have programmed my PowerPoint to do this. I don't know. I'm not touching anything here, but that or my computer's losing its mind. This is an algorithm I use. You don't have to use this, by the way, but I look at I break down all of my clinical operations, my clinics and my health and performance services, which is our cash services. And I try and keep our expenses inside of this. And I'll leave this on the screen if you want to write it down. This is just a formula. I didn't start here, by the way. Our profits weren't 20%, some years ago. Okay. They are now 20, they're greater than that, but this is a minimum. This is a bottom line budget for me, right? If I can keep my delivery costs, that's my, all my delivery staff, including my techs and front desk and that, to 45%. My management costs, my management team cost at 15%. My marketing costs, I don't actually spend 10% of my gross income on marketing currently. I'm not there, so I make up a little ground there. But we're always trying new things. We're definitely going to some surges of expenditures. We're trying new things. My facility costs below 10% of my revenue, and then a budgeted 20% profitability. Now, it may vary on practice type, but it's not unrealistic. I can tell you that a buyer looking at your practice, because that's why I'm talking about financial stability, indicators or trends. Someone looking at your practice, they want to see growth in delivery, in new patient. They want to see a capacity for you to reach more new people, because that's what they're investing in. They want to see your revenue cycle. Nancy, go ahead.
Oh, I got to jump in on that, because now that I've done this for 5 years, talking to owners that have reached the life cycle of a practice, I'm getting people that are calling me up and saying that they're being offered like 1.78 for a location, and other people are calling me up and telling me they're getting offered like $35,000. I am like, what's the difference? Okay, that was a very extreme on the lower end side, but she was a very extraordinarily disorganized person. And what they're looking for, if you choose to sell, now Paul should talk a little bit about what his life looks like, because he's designed his life up pretty nice. But Paul did a legacy version of his practice where he vested people in his locations. And so they make money, he makes money, he doesn't make money, they don't make money, but you heard him say that's not an option. So they're very happy campers. They've been with him. I think the youngest teammate is Wendy Stanley, who's, I said, oh my gosh, 17, 18 years. He was like, oh no, we got people 24, 25 years. So he built in also a retention thing. But when I started to look at why are people being offered this much money, I'm going to tell you, and this, you can think this is a shameless plug. It is a shameless plug. The people buying up companies like the management program. Why? Because they know the management program at SSI, you've got all your stats. You hit a button. Diane, when she merged with Ivy, Diane hit a button and showed all, like one button that was important to them was referral to eval conversion. What was that percentage? Diane hit one button, and they saw that. They saw all that efficiency and organization. Now, the irony is once they acquire your practice, they kind of undo what you did, which is wholly ironic. But they have about 10 people in our lineup of survival strategies clients that aren't ready to sell yet, but that's why they're looking at them, and that's why their offers are as big as they are. So if you've got like a 10-year exit strategy and you have zero strategy in the exit, that is a whole reason to talk right there, because you have about 10 years to build this thing up so you can get that organization and structure in. 5 years you could do it, but you really need to have that to get the big bucks, the big bucks. That's just what I'm letting you know is an option. But that's interesting you bring that up, Paul. That is what I've seen. People getting offered 400,000, people getting offered 1.5 for one look at why. It's the structure. It's the structure.
You're talking as a gross amount. When you said 1.4, you're not talking about a multiple. You're talking about an actual 1.4 million for that practice. Yeah,
that's right, for that location. That's right. That's right. Yeah. If not more. It depends on what you're doing and how organized you are. But they are looking at organization more than they're looking at how many numbers you do. Some of these people that are buying up practices want smaller locations. They don't want to start off with it. It's a very interesting time to watch what's going on. And I'll tell you another thing here. Those conglomerates are coming out like crazy, and they're buying up anybody that's either done, which is fine, or my sad viewpoint on this, the people that are thrown in the towel because they don't have the know-how and they're shredded beyond belief. And Paul can speak to what happened in adult peds. If you're peds on here, this is the time to get stable and expanded, because Paul can speak to what happened when those conglomerates came out and started buying up practices. And Paul survived that, and he can give you a whole reason on why and what happened when the conglomerates and the hospitals started going like, we should have our own, we'll do the orthopedic surgery and then we'll have our own PT clinic. You had to see the decimation that did in this profession. That is a new thing coming down the pike. If you happen to be on this webinar and you're pediatric, nobody thought you guys made any money in peds. Nobody gave a rat's you know what if you guys made any money. And guess what? Along comes survival strategies and a little girl and her team named Nancy Mura, who's like, we should do something for these here peds. And the next thing you know, bam, everybody starts to realize that there's money in this beautiful profession. So whether you service adult or kiddos, it doesn't matter. You've got to get those numbers in. And if you can't answer these numbers like this, gosh, I'm getting all like Midwestern, gosh. You really need to contact us. And Paul, that's really amazing. That's right. I forgot that you used to do an evaluation every year. That's pretty phenomenal. But it's like going to get x-rays. You got teeth? You're going to the dentist. You got to practice. You need to get in and know those numbers and have somebody analyze them to find where the icebergs are. Anyway, that's all I had to interject in there, Paul. But you should tell them a little bit about how you run your practice now, what that looks like.
Well, I definitely set it up to be able to manage it remotely. And I actually didn't, until my kids moved to Nashville, I didn't necessarily plan to live there. But, the fact that I had, prior to those guys moving, actually wasn't as big a deal them moving to Nashville. It's like I started having all these freaking babies, right? It was these grandkids that really was the suck to get there. But Nashville, it's a great area to live in. But luckily we had set things up to where we could, be mobile and travel. It was our goal to travel. Now we just live remotely. We'll get into traveling more here pretty soon now that, things changed over the last couple of years. That a couple of years ago, nobody was going anywhere, but at any rate, that was by design. By the way, I actually wrote a very specific strategic plan just for that. I used a tool that I won't get into saying here, just for lack of creating misunderstood concepts. But there's a tool that you learn how to use on the management program, and I wrote it specifically for this aspect of my life, and did a program with survival strategies called Power of Choice, which is, I think, is so appropriately named. But basically, you do all the programs, and then you really get those suckers fully in with your team. So, I trained with my team to get them on, but it's the best favor I could have done to those guys. They'll tell you that their training is what makes them stable. But, set the practice up so that I could be there as much as I want. I'm still very engaged, by the way, every week. It's not like I'm not worried. I'm not, sitting on the back porch drinking mint juleps or something down in the South, but it's, I'm definitely working, and I do a lot of volunteer stuff. I actually, volunteer many hours a week, and do some other things, run some other groups as well. So I'm actually probably busier than I was, just not in Rebound, but not inside of Rebound's four walls. So, but these are the things I'm working on along with my leadership team. I'll tell you what Nancy's talking about. Any buyer, even a internal sale, right? If I were to do an internal sale, and what I prefer to do is build partners with myself, build some really badass partners, and to sell to I'm gonna have to transition at some point. But that leadership team, it's not on here, but that leadership team and those systems or processes are the other 20% of these things, because they're going to look at your growth pattern and your delivery, your growth pattern, and they're going to look at your new business volume. They're going to look at your revenue cycle, and then they're going to dive into your leadership team and your processes. And that's where survival strategies is so freaking strong. We're pretty rock solid when they look at our systems and they go, okay, yeah, they don't even understand all of it, but they understand its value, that it's something that works. So, okay, good. I'm going to keep moving forward here. My computer is not advancing. So obviously you want to know your delivery costs. What are your let me get rid of something here. There you go. Get rid of some of these open windows here. So what are your delivery costs, and what do you get for it? And more importantly, though, the second question is, how do you measure and manage your staff efficiency as a factor of this? Like, great that you know how much it costs you, but what are you doing to make them more efficient, which is what I pay Bert for. Bert gets paid on the efficiency of his staff. Okay, Bert is my VP of operations. So he has to work with the folks that the team that onboards and establishes our staff, hires and establishes our staff. Bert has to make sure that his juniors and these production staff are becoming more and more efficient, because I want them. My goal is for them to make more money too. Not just my managers, but my providers. And then, what's your bottom line or your budget for profitability? I told you in the beginning I wouldn't dive into any kind of budgetary measures other than those 5 factors I just showed you on percentages that I would have for any clinic that I have. But you have to outline exactly what you want that profitability to be for each one of your production units. If you've got multiple disciplines or multiple clinics, or even just delivery teams. I know we're in our bigger clinic, we're having to divide up into some teams now, because our satellite clinic, our second clinic in Topeka, is outperforming our main clinic just from a pure percentage of profitability standpoint. So we're replicating a lot of what we're doing there. But you have to target out every month and every quarter what you expect that to be, and hold yourself to it as an owner and a lead executive. You need to be working on debugging and adapting and adjusting your strategic plan based upon how well you are or are not performing. Number 3, what financial metric are your managers or your management team managing by? what are you paying those guys to be managers? What am I paying Bert, the VP Ops? How much of his time needs to be towards managing, our accrual charges is what I'll call it, but the value of the service delivered for the week. He needs to be running that sucker up the pole from a maximum efficiency standpoint every week. And I'm leaning on him every week. Our Wednesday meeting, we had it this morning. We're leaning into the thing that's going to make the biggest difference to move, the financial measurement of our production. And then, obviously marketing, what do you pay for your marketing? What's that return on investment? I definitely work with Uplift Marketing. I introduced survival strategies to Uplift because I like the fact that they help me manage, they hold themselves accountable to their production based on statistics. I love that. But we look at our return on investment every month with what they're doing, as well as with what Wendy's doing with our PR and our in-house marketing. And then I would ask just the question, how much time do you spend every week or every month on income production planning versus, just expense handlings or planning? I spend 95% of my time on income and 5% of my time on expenses because I just outproduce it. Always have, always will. But I've always paid someone. I've been very fortunate to have Roxanne in my life, and she's very, very efficient and frugal with expense controls. I haven't had to worry about that. I just picked a great partner. She picked a great partner because she picked someone who can produce and who knows how to work hard and produce income. So we're a good team, but we pass that on to our group with the tools that we've gained in survival strategies on financial planning to hold all those things in place. That just made us even stronger. We went from whatever profitability we were percentage-wise then to a higher level of profitability by getting more solid systems in. So, more questions. How do you execute and use your longest levers? Which, who's on your profitability team? Whoever's on that team, you have to, you can demand a lot of them, but demand also means to entrust. You have to entrust your faith and your your future in those guys. Do they have an exact plan? That's what we're going to be working on today with my team. Every month we go over those 4 or 5 metrics that we're looking at, that we're measuring. The meeting's going to start today, and we're going to look at where our revenue cycle is at, where our new patient plan is at, where our recruitment and leadership team training's at, and we monetize all of that. Are they executing on that plan? Do they have targets? Do they own those targets? Like, they're theirs. They're not mine. They're theirs. They are entrusted with Bert is working on that revenue per visit, and that's his number. That's his baby. And if he grows it and he nails it, then he gets well rewarded. I know last quarter, I think those guys bonused about 35, 40 grand last quarter, those 4 people.
Wow.
Yes. Someone's.
Oh, I just said, wow. I just said, wow, because I'm just thinking, boy, do you have, it's very evident how you've got a built-in retention system, like retention is one of the biggest issues right now. And these guys, they started young, and Paul will hire a whippersnapper, a young whippersnapper. But the thing is, he creates an environment where retention is just, it just goes hand in glove with the way it is. And that's the way we design these programs, so that we don't want you like getting something great happening over here, but you're falling apart over here and having, we're not going to give you a whack-a-mole kind of program. We're going to give you a program that builds in things for success, like retention. His people are not leaving every 18 months to go where the grass is greener. Paul has learned how to hire people that water their own grass, and that's why it's green. And they water the grass together. It's an awesome culture. You got to meet his PCC that he was talking about, Wendy Stanley, that's been with him, I think, 18 or 19 years by this point. She's phenomenal, and she'll be at the event. And then also Janet's going to be there.
Yep. Yeah, she's going to be there next month. Yep.
Janet's title is
VP of Admin, VP Administration. Yeah.
Right. So she'll be there in the breakout. So if you guys come and you bring your staff, this is who they'll be hobnobbing with and asking questions to and getting solutions from. So you're welcome, Anna Coble. Thanks for joining us. So that's just something to keep in mind about why these events are plan the way they are, but great retention strategy, Paul.
Yeah, they love the challenge, you know, and but you also they love the control. I entrust them, and they're controlling their area. When they do a good job at it, they get paid well. You know, they get you know, well compensated for helping us achieve those targets. I mean, we're there, and they're a part of that planning process too. I write the overall strategic plan, but they have to they write out the plan to execute their part of it, their targets. Here's a couple of tools. I just wanted to show you guys a couple of things, and I'll open it up for some questions and discussion, because I just totally hate not being able to A, see you guys, and B, not have a two-way communication. But I wanted to cover some basics here. So this is an old tool that I've used. It's really simple. So top left there, new patients per week. This is well over this is a couple years old. So these were some old numbers that we ran, and we've achieved this, or blown, you know, we've gotten through most of this, not all of this. I'll tell you the one we haven't gotten through, but we have made some improvements on it. So 3 areas that have some variance to it. So NP, new patients per week. So at the point where we did this initially, it was 60. We were at 60 new a week. VPN visits per new patient. So every new patient that started was worth, you know, that number of visits, right? 13.4 on average. And we calculate this every month. Collections per visit at that point was only $85. And then it just calculates down how many new patients that would be, you know, annualized, and what the annual visits would be. This is just for a couple of our clinics, right? This doesn't include some other things that we're doing with health and performance cash services. So, you know, just that was, you know, that would have been at a 3.5 pace. We did not finish there. So a 10% increase, 6 more new patients a week. That would be one target. Increase in our visits per new. You know, you're getting more people to complete their full plan of care, let's just put it that way, only by 5%, and then getting our collections per visit up 10%, which we haven't completely nailed this one yet. We have months where we're at that number. We just haven't got the annual average. I think we're at right around 92 right now. But at any rate, that would be $850 a visit. But you can see the change there. So this one is annualized times 49 weeks, because you guys don't have your therapist there, you know, 52 weeks a year. But so anyway, that would be a $700,000 increase if you're able to do all 3 of those things. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I have never been personally successful at doing all those things myself. Well, that's why Wendy works on the new patient side. Bert works on the business per new is pretty easy for us because of the types of patients we drive in. Well, that's very intuitive. That's where Bert and Wendy work together. The collections per visit. Ours is more. We don't have a collections problem. It was you know, how we were doing our charge clusters and getting our units per visit up, but you know, correct coding initiatives and whatnot. But that's Bert's target. And this is only 3 of the things. Now, the leadership and the training side of it isn't reflected in this algorithm, but I'm just showing you it's a measurement tool, so we can relook at this every month and see how we're doing and see how much we're moving towards that 700,000 in potential opportunity. That's granted gross revenue, but that's with existing resources. That's without adding any staff. Okay, we had the capacity at that point in the past to do that with a couple of our clinics. This isn't the whole organization, but you know, we ended the year, by the way, after doing this for a year, we ended at, I think, at 4.3. So we did nail that. So it's very easy to share some revenue with your staff when you hit those numbers. People go, how can you bonus, you know, $30,000 or $40,000 in a quarter? Well, it's pretty easy. You know, if you're hitting your targets, you know, it's expected. They're playing the game, you know, and because that's, you know, they're still getting monthly incentives and monthly bonuses. This is just above and beyond bonus. This isn't their only bonus opportunity. So there's that. And then one last tool that I'll show you. This is something I use. This is me personally. I'm sharing a secret here. It's not really a secret, Nancy. I'm just sharing you one statistic that I measure for myself to hold myself accountable to running my guys, right? And because their performance, how they perform is my product. How well they're performing is a measurement of my executive skill. Okay, I want to emphasize that. It's their performance is dependent upon how well I do, how well I run them, right? Because they're my responsibility. So if they're not performing well, it's because it's something I'm not doing. to help them. So, hope that one sinks in. So let me pull up. Oh, I guess no, I have it in my slides. Never mind here. Let me go back to my slides. So from current slide. So check this out. One of my main weekly CEO statistics, and don't get involved in the numbers here. I just put random numbers in here. I just made them round. My numbers don't look like this because nothing. If it ends in 0, it's probably BS. So these aren't BS numbers. They are made up numbers from the standpoint. I just put them in for the illustration, easy to calculate. So I take the valuable assets of my company every week and total them. I look at the value of our accounts receivable. So I take that as a collectible value. I just show it on here at 55%. So let's say our AR is at 600,000, 330,000, whatever the collections were for the week, the gross income for the week. We produce more than just PT income. So we have health and performance, and I have outside income that my company provides some services for other folks that I'm working with. So we have other ways to make income too. Accrual charges, that's Bert's number. That's taking our weekly visit production and converting that to income that was produced for the week, even though we haven't collected it. That's the value of his production. The value of new starts, which is Wendy, how many people started, take that times a current number, the current value for the starts, and then how much cash that we have on hand minus any bills that are owing for the next week, and I total that up, and that's a number. Now that's a very arbitrary number. Anybody looking at it would go, big deal, what does that mean? That number means nothing to me. Okay, well, I put that on a graph every week, and then I have to dive into one of these areas. Okay, the only thing that I don't like that isn't on here as far as a completed product of our company is the number of successful discharges, right? But I'm just taking everything that's produced in my company and creating a tangible value. This is something I figured out on my own, by the way. What I mean by that is I figured out, what I managed my guys by every week and what I was pressing them on, and made it, turned it into a monetary value. So this would be my graph, right? So that would show, an up and down trend. There's 2 holiday weeks in here, so that's where these 2 big dips are, 2 4-day weeks. But that's a real number that I have to go in and take a look at which one of those things, what's the longest lever, like I said before, which one of those things of those 5 areas, because if we're not collecting old money, NAR, if we're not, pressing on new ones, if we're not pressing on delivery, obviously, the gross income coming in, and then how are we managing our cash? How are we managing our bills and our cash? So it makes me work with my financial controls officer, my VP of operations, my VP of PR and marketing, my VP of admin, and it just forces that in for me. It's a measure of one of the major measures of my, of my production. But bottom line, the one that you can't see on anything that I talked about here with these tools, the one you must grow and show growth on is your net income and your profits, or your percent of profitability, however you want to present it. That's the one you want to grow, because that's the future. The future is in growing the viability, the profitability, and then the viability of your practice. We're at the point now where we've created enough reserve capital that we're going to open some clinics, open some additional clinics, partner with some folks, start having some real fun, and start creating some real expansion. So I am going to stop sharing so I can see some faces. And I know we only have about 5 minutes, Nancy, but I never know how long these are going to take when I create them like I do, or some of them on the night before. But it always works out, doesn't it? It's pretty wild.
You and I are exactly the same. We're like, we're just going to get it up. If it goes a little over, it goes a little over. We'll just get it out. We'll just get the information. Diane is like, who does the lemonade? Diane is like, it's 11:01 and 30 seconds. We have to start. It's 11:59 and 49 seconds. Like, she is. But I love that. I like both. I think sometimes, it's good to be respectful of people's time and stuff. You never want to penalize the people that arrive on time by holding things up, by not delivering the goods, waiting for the late people to straggle in. But that was really great. I mean, guys, if you can see how you would apply that, that is, those are game-changing. That's game-changing information there. Who's got a question? Who's got a question for Paul on this?
Or anything that needs to be clarified too. If I just need to clarify something, I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
Anybody? No take. Come on.
let
I don't,
Nancy or Carrie, let Nancy or Carrie Lee know that if you want to talk to me too about any of this stuff, I'm happy to do that. I dig this. I dig
um,
this.
yeah, we should put Paul's email address up there. That's the best way to get in touch with you, right, Paul? It's Paul, what is it, Paul? What is it?
Paul at reboundphysicaltherapy.com. Yeah.
Paul at Rebound.
Wait, I have a question. I have a question.
Oh, good.
Oh, Jessica,
You guys
hello.
know me. Hi,
Yeah.
Brad. Hi, everybody. So my question is, because you made a reference to paying attention and like applying the principles of business finance management to your own personal finances.
Correct.
So is that something that you would do? Like, is there like a first, second order to that, or is that just concurrent? That's a silly question, maybe, but
Well,
I'm asking, like,
no, I'll state it again. You know, the Rebound, while it's the main source of income for Paul and Rox, you know, you know, we're still the senior organization. You know, our household is senior to Rebound. Rebound is one part of my life. Okay. And that is in keeping in part with the Power Choice program and how I laid out my own administrative scale for my life, that Rebound is contributing to that. So it's not my life. It's a big part of it. And I've invested, you know, more in that than probably, and then for sure more hours than anything else, you know, in my life, including probably my kids. And I mean, in all truth and honesty, you know, not my wife, but you know, she has been with me the whole time. You know, now she kind of thinks maybe I ought to, you know, pull out a little bit further. But yeah, but it's the perspective, right? That it's the concept that that's the senior organization. And you know, I didn't get into trouble anymore personally because I mean, Nancy knows this. I love to give away money, and personally, I don't do it in my company. It's not a free company, but I do a lot of philanthropic gifting, and it's very important to me. And I raise a lot of money. I've raised more money outside of Rebound than, you know, because but that's what drives me. I see that things are pretty screwed up out in the world, so I go out and work on that. That's what Rebound fuels for me. So that's why it is important. It's like, no, it's important that Paul and Rox make a lot of money because of what we're doing with it, and then I get rid of it.
got it. So what I just heard from you is that your personal demand for income drives the bottom line for all of your other revenue streams. Like, it drives production.
Correct. There is more demand on that Saturday morning meeting than there'll ever be in a Rebound executive council. Like some really frank conversations. Well, if you want to do X, big boy, you need to do Y. And she is the financial controls officer. She is a badass financial controls officer. I don't, you know, I get in trouble all the time, but you know what I do is I outproduce it because I have, you know, violated some policy, you know, here and there, but I'm a little bit of a maverick on that front too. But you know what? I've outproduced it. So what I have to do then is really simple. I said, well, good, let's put a dot on the graph. Let's see what our assets look like over time. And I grow the assets of the company. And that asset graph, that personal asset, does not have the value of Rebound on it. Only any cash value. Doesn't have the future value, what multiple I could get or not get, whatever. Because I ain't done. I ain't done playing the game.
Sure.
Nancy knows this part about me too. I'll probably never. I would at this point. I'd say, you know, I guess I can't say I'd never sell, but I'd rather do an internal sale. I'd rather create a legacy, and have it just keep going past beyond me, and just create.
You don't have to write out that crazy check. When Diane tells a funny story about her husband Greg, who's just a doll, and Greg had to write the check to the IRS 6 times because he was so nervous writing a check that big. So if Paul might be able to circumvent that if he keeps himself on and just, I mean, you could sell internally, but I think there's a way to keep yourself on where you wouldn't, I don't know. But anyway, it just seems like there's that power of choice is for real. There's one more question on here, Paul. I lost it. Where did it go? What tools do you use? What tools do you use to improve your leadership ability?
Well, I do it. I'm always training myself. I'm looking for. I mean, I have mentors. I know Nancy. We both use some the training platform through Grant Cardone. There's some good tools that are helpful there. I do a lot of study, but I do it with my staff. We train. We still have Bert and Janet. Wendy. We're always on some training platform or getting help, outside help from people that are doing better than us. I like to hang around with people that are doing better than me and doing more than me, and getting more done. There's a lot more successful people than me. I would challenge across the lifespan of all the things as far as like donating my time and effort and energy towards outside things. But there's people doing better than me in private practice. But as far as all the other stuff, I make sure we get around guys. But so I make sure my guys are training, and that I'm always training. So leadership comes from pushing yourself, above and beyond where you're at, and building your skill set. These guys have to do an annual review or analysis of how they're doing, and I do the same thing. It's like, well, what am I not doing as good at? So I have some outside consultancies I work with, and even though I'm not going to do a merger or do any kind of acquisition thing, I talk to the M&A guys. I find out what's going on in the market and learn from them, and go do leadership training. Go to the Palooza, right? I'm interested in Patrick's awesome. You've got Matt again, is that right? Matt doing something again?
Yeah, Matt, Diane. Matt, Diane, Patrick, it's chock full of stuff. No, I believe I have the same mindset. I'm like, there's actual statistics on your finances and how they relate to the 5 people that are around you. Same actually with weight. People that are the same weight usually hang around with people around the same weight. And when you don't, and you get around people that weigh a different weight than you will go toward their side. It's very interesting. And the thing that I noticed is that you want to have the percentage of people doing better way in that favor, because I will tell you, I have an expression that I'll try to clean up and not sound like I'm straight out of the Bronx, but that is that ish doesn't roll uphill. Ish rolls downhill. Yeah. So doo-doo does not roll uphill, doo-doo rolls downhill. So you think that people around you would come up to your level. Sadly, they don't. You go down to their level. I don't know what that's about, but that is a mindset that I hold to. And doesn't mean you kick people out of your life because they're hitting a rough patch. Oh gosh, I'd have no friends. I had a couple of real rough patches along the way until I got some real stability. But if someone's just chronic and they're not taking action in their lives, you're not going to be in my life for very, very long at all. I can't. I have a very short tolerance for what I call staying in the wet pee-pee diaper. And when you stay in that wet pee-pee diaper, I really don't want to hear you crying, because a baby in a wet pee-pee diaper, they cry and they whine and they're not happy. And I don't want to be around that. And I had to practice and learn that the hard way when I lost a whole bunch of friends. At a certain period of my life, and it was because I was a whiny, cranky baby in my pee-pee diaper. So that is not attractive, and players don't really want to be around that. So I think that mindset is really super important. And then someone else commented about the graphs and how beautiful they look. I don't know, Paul, are you still using OMS? Are you still using OMS? Do you still use it? Have you?
That's MBA. That's management by statistics. That system that I had on there. That's for our financial statistics. Some of the stuff that we. Yeah. Anyway, that's what we're using for that.
We use PEDS OMS, and then just OMS, which is the adult, and it graphs all beautiful like that. There's a bunch of people on here that have that that system. That Craig, the CEO of Survival, designed this software program, whether you're PEDS or you're adult, it tracks accordingly. If you've got billable hours, it does billable hours. It's a very smart system, very user friendly. Matter of fact, the real fancy people, they're like, yeah, they want something a little bit more sophisticated. But the average person that's running a practice is so happy to have it because they push that button and bam, there go the beautiful graphs. Carrie Lee, did we have, people are jumping off and I got to get on a call soon too. Did we have the poll? Because I don't see it. Did we have the poll?
Yeah, I launched it a little bit ago. 3 and a half minutes ago.
3.5 minutes ago, says Carrie Lee. She's so accurate. We love that. Guys, fill out that poll. We use that to bring the events, to bring you the next lemonade, the next juice. You are very welcome, Regina. Thank you for joining us. And if you are adult, we really want to put up one of these conferences that we have with the PEDS. You are welcome to come to the PEDS event, by the way. But guys, we want to have it just for you. You'd have speakers like Paul going, 2, 3, 4 hours on a presentation. We bring in Dimi Kostopoulos and his partner Kostas Rizopoulos. I get $1 just for saying those names right. $2, in fact, one for each. So if you want that, you have to participate in the Private Practice Network. That is our Facebook group for adults. And it's starting to kick off. We're starting to get a little bit more interest and people asking and answering questions. And I thank you all for that. So please, please, please make sure that you are active in there. Put your questions. We will answer them. And do yourselves a favor. I mean, I'm looking at, I talk to a lot of you and I'm like, a lot of them can't answer these questions, Paul. So I'm like, you need the fat. You need to just start looking and confronting those numbers. I am telling you, it is a GPS for your practice. You want to know, you got to know where you're going. And to know where you want to go, you have to know where you are. You can't be with a broken GPS in the Mojave Desert trying to get to that resort with the infinity pool and the masseuse. You can't get there if the GPS doesn't know where you are. So make sure you reach out to us for that. That's all I have. A big thank you to Paul, as usual, for imparting such great wisdom, and also a big thank you to you guys, because we know how valuable your time is. And so we're always thrilled when you're here. Tell your friends, tell your associates, tell them to join the Private Practice Network if they are adult serving, and join the Pizza-Palooza if they, community and conferences, if they are pediatric serving.